Good afternoon. It's me, Larry, and I'm coming to you live from Stevie's room. Today's discussion is part 1.5, which means that there were a few things I forgot in part 1 on feeding feral cats at your home. One of the things that I mentioned in part 1 is that since you are the property owner, that is an advantage. One of the disadvantages is that you have to face the neighbor who dislikes cats daily or weekly. They're there all the time. That is your biggest problem. Even though you have the legal right, you still have to live with people. And you also don't want them hurting the animals. As you know, what started me in this was a neighbor that was hurting them. That's how I got involved in animal rescue. And it's not just my neighborhood. So with that being said, there is also an advantage of having to live with that person every day. They may have inconvenienced you at some point or another in the time that you live there. It may be that party that went too late. It may be the family dinner that they had too many cars and then they illegally parked them in the street and you had to navigate around all those cars to get into your driveway. It may have been the construction project that they did. I had one person, 2 years, 2 years, dust everywhere, noise constantly. I had to paint my house in the end of it. 30 workers at a clip during the week. Strangers basically roaming around in front of your house. You don't know what, you don't know any of them. I didn't even know who the property owner was at that time. The person bought the house and did this large construction thing. So I didn't complain. Don't complain. Complain about things that are direct, if something's really horrible, then yes, you may, I caught somebody stealing my neighbor's wheels. I called the police. I got involved. When they asked me if I wanted to join a crime watch group, I said, sure, sign me up. When there's a suspicious person in the neighborhood, I have gotten involved. It's good to have me on your team if I'm on your team. So I let them know that. But I also let them know this is my boundary. Don't mess with the animals. Leave the animal alone. Be kind to it. And as far as the neighbor who was hurting them, it took a lot. How do you deal with that? You can't film in someone else's backyard. It's video voyeurism or something. You really are, they have the privacy of their own home. But yet you know that the only person in your neighborhood that has that pellet gun is that person. And the next thing you know, you have an x-ray of a cat that has that pellet. That's unrelated. They're doing an x-ray of something else and they see a pellet in it. That came from a person. And the only one that you know that has the pellet gun is that person. So what do you do? Well, in my case, it led to, there was enough of these x-rays or injuries that were people related where somebody did go and speak to him and say, we can't directly prove anything to you. However, this evidence here is circumstantial and you would hate to have it spark an investigation. For a polished professional person, that's enough to cool their jets a little bit. They're not going to change their view. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to do something. It may get more crafty. Remember, you have to understand, they are just as resourceful at harming the animal as you are at helping it. Don't think for a second that the hater doesn't have some skills. But you got skills too, and you do have the law on your side. There are anti-cruelty laws, but are they really strictly? The animals are voiceless. These things happen when nobody's looking. And even if you look at local news stories of people whose animals have been hurt, it's usually a shock value story, but never a follow-up, or rarely. What happened? How did it turn out? They give you that initial shock story, and everybody that the post on the thing says, "Oh, it's horrible! How horrible! Give them the maximum sentence. Do get the police involved." And the police. Let's talk about who deals with animals. It's really, I mean, yes, I'm sure if a police officer sees somebody like hurting a dog or a cat, they're going to get involved and arrest the person. But it really is more of an animal control, animal enforcement officer that deals with that. Police deal mostly with people. Wildlife, Florida Fish and Wildlife, in case I deal with wildlife, meaning wild birds, raccoons, possum, animals that are. So if you have an issue, and these three different divisions are separate. You know, and yes, they have some overlap. A police officer is not going to just let somebody, there was a story in the news where somebody was choking his dog in the middle of South Beach, and the people got involved, and a police officer got involved, and they arrested the person. But look at what it takes. I mean, you know, you may not get that in your own backyard when things go bad. So, when it's the next door neighbor doing this, you know, and talking to that person is going to get you nowhere. It's better to have somebody, because then it can escalate, and you really don't want that to escalate between you and your next door neighbor. No matter what you say, you're not going to get a hater to stop hating. And don't, regarding anybody, my suggestion with cats, don't talk about them at all with your neighbors. Not at all. They ask you, yes, but be guarded. The less they get involved, the better. What about the person who's feeding them and caring for them and trapping them and great, but even with that person, let him do his own solo thing so that he doesn't involve you with the $5,000 bill that he's got on a cat that he wants to deal with or something. We let him do his own thing. Help him if need be, but you've got your own little caboose to tow. Tow your own caboose and do something and do positive things for your neighbors so that you do have this leverage. So that's it for today. Those are the things that I forgot. And be well, be safe. Let's keep our animals healthy and strong.